Welcome back to the Diplomatic Lounge. We took a longish break due to the hot summer, the hottest in memory as far as I'm concerned, and to many of us. But in spite of the heat, this summer has been far from uneventful. Quite to the contrary. Conflicts and wars have been going on, most notably, of course, in the Middle East and in the Ukraine, and other conflicts have been simmering on as well. And this brings back some reflections in general about war and summer. We can go as far back as 1914, when the worst of all wars, the most meaningless of wars for sure, started in the summer euphoria, with the idea and the illusion that the conflict would be over long before winter, and we all know what happened next. But closer, and from memories of my own career, it also strikes me that some of the worst atrocities in the Balkan Wars in the 1990s happened during the summer, including the massacre at Srebrenica in 1995. Now, in the house where we live in the south of Spain, we can see all the shipping that comes through Gibraltar on its way to the Mediterranean and the Middle East. And this brings back memories of the summer 1990, when we saw squadrons of the US Navy passing through these waters on their way to what would become the first Gulf War, of course, after Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait, again in the heat of the month of August. It seems that when democracies are at the beach, dictators see fit to make their moves. Even Mr. Putin, we have to remember, made his first aggressive move towards Georgia in August 2008, probably thinking or hoping that this would go somewhat unnoticed or would not provoke reactions because of the summer. And it was kind of the foreplay to his later aggressions against Ukraine, and in general his desire to become an empire again. Now, one of the most interesting memories I have of summer war is again related to the Balkans. It was in late spring 1999 that NATO, together with the European Union, decided to intervene in the bloody conflict in Kosovo. And as a result, NATO bombarded Belgrade and hit the Chinese embassy by mistake, a tragic mistake and an unforgivable one. I was then working in Havana as ambassador of Belgium, and we European ambassadors were all called in at the Revolution Palace, and we were read the Riot Act in a truly apocalyptic statement, probably from the hand of Fidel Castro himself, that blamed us Europeans for being idiots and slaves of the United States. It irritated me to the extent that I looked at my neighbor, who was the ambassador of the Netherlands, and said, "Eldred, we should actually leave because we're being insulted here." But being still on our good behavior, we stayed and sat it out. But a few weeks later, again, at the height of summer, during the reception for the French National Day on July 14, Cuban colleagues and counterparts were still repeating the party line of us Europeans being idiots and slaves of the Americans. And it got on my nerves to such an extent that I reacted and said, "Listen, when Cuba decided to go to war in Africa for reasons that they thought were justified, I will not be disrespected when we Europeans thought that we had to go to war to avoid further bloodshed in Kosovo." I didn't think I lost my cool. I was polite but kind of curt, and a little more than my Cuban counterparts were used from me. Well, it was towards the end of my first mission there, and probably I took certain liberties. It had a certain effect, because I was not annoyed anymore after that with the party line about European idiots and American NATO masters. These days, when I look again at the shipping lanes in front of our house, it strikes me that we see very little commercial shipping coming through, and that's abnormal because normally we see a constant coming and going of container ships and oil tankers. And I suppose that this impact on shipping has to do with the insecurity reigning in the Middle East and the shipping lanes there. So there is a long tradition of summers and war summers. We can only hope that as this summer draws to an end, at least for the worst ongoing conflicts, cooler heads will prevail, and that we will move closer to some kind of solution that everybody is hoping and praying for. Thank you, and see you next time.